Oh my God, slurred drunk Rachel Evans as she leaned in to give me a superficial welcome hug. I heard you transferred here, but Rachel, I retorted, deliberately cutting her off. I had no idea you'd be here. That was a lie. I knew she'd be there. I knew she'd be one of the many former Clark High School students that my boyfriend Ted and his roommate John had invited to their welcome to your sophomore year party. Ted and I had just transferred from the University of North Texas, a college where kids from our school rarely went. As I hurriedly walked away, desperate to disappear into the crowd, I heard drunk Rachel continue her interrupted thought directly behind me. I didn't realize that you had the grades to get into this school. Or wait, I know, she said as she cocked her head and continued her condescending comment. You're at the community college, right? I stared at her for a beat before the sting of her insult was fully registered. I knew from her childlike expression that in my opinion bordered on stupidity, she was truly astounded by my presence at Texas A&M. My heart was pounding. I just wanted to walk away from this ignorant, one-sided conversation. But from my peripheral view, I saw eyes widen and mouths gape. Ted, John, and even Rob, Rachel's boyfriend, all wore frozen facial expressions from what I assumed was both the disbelief of her insulting insinuations and probably the panic of my impending reaction. So much to my chagrin, this moment with Rachel could not be ignored. There I was, sandwiched between what felt like two stereotypes. I was either the dumb Mexican or the fiery Latina. I teetered between amusement and anger. Somehow that gave me a modicum of self-respect, an elevated feeling from the actual deflation and embarrassment that was coursing through my veins. Unfortunately, this wasn't an isolated incident. Now, in all fairness, no one said those words that night, dumb Mexican or fiery Latina. But because of gratuitous comments and belittling slurs like wetback and leaf blower, and monkey, chink, and towelhead, racism becomes a filter by which many comments are heard and many questions are answered. And as an adolescent in Texas, those tacit "you're less than" implications become blaring with statements like Rachel's. The truth is, I didn't grow up knowing this social humiliation. My first language was Spanish, and while I was born in San Antonio, Texas, I lived a good part of my childhood in Mexico. My dad and his side of this family are from a picturesque and historic town, Morelia, Michoacan. This city birthed the revolutionaries Miguel Hidalgo and José María Morelos. This city was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site for its preserved colonial architecture. My family had orgullo, pride. Pride for who they were and what they had achieved. It was a beautiful upbringing. We had happy memories of picnics in vivid green parks and huge holiday festivities. Many of my fond memories were in Mexico. All I had ever experienced, all I ever knew from living in Mexico was love, laughter, beauty, and orgullo. But my orgullo, my pride for being of Mexican descent, had been appended long ago when my mom moved my brothers and me to Texas permanently. Growing up, it was difficult to be unaffected by such slurs as spick and greaser. Even the term Mexican could elicit an unwelcome Pavlovian effect. And while the oppressive nature of racism is not felt daily, it certainly looms, like the smell of bad gas in an elevator, a smell you get used to until the doors open. But back to Rachel. A flush of anger burned across my face. I handed my cheap perlite beer to the person next to me, and I turned to face Rachel with determination. Fuck you, you overprivileged snob, and your ridiculously short preppies, and your papagayo shoes. You ask me another asinine question like that, and you'll need a third nose job and a second round of braces when I'm done with you. Now get the fuck out of my face before I snap your neck with that Kelly green knit polo sweater that's wrapped around it. That was what I'm sure the crowd around us expected me to say, the fiery Latina response. But that was not my answer. I know, right? It's ignorant people like you, Rachel, with your uneducated questions that make others seem prejudiced. Why would you ever make a judgment about me based on my color of skin? Why is it that for uncultured people like you, speaking a second language, mainly Spanish, doesn't register as an asset? Were you somehow privy to my high school grades? Do you know that I actually speak 3 languages fluently? Let me tell you something. What you know about Mexicans in general and me specifically is absolutely nothing. You should get to know me. You'd be surprised. That also is not my answer, but I'm sure the National Council of La Raza would have approved. The truth is that I was 19, and I was that fiery Latina ready for a fight. I had to fight. I had to fight my impulse to go with what the crowd had expected me to say. But arrogance and ignorance cannot be fought. They can only be taught or ignored. I reminded myself of the orgullo that had been entrusted in me long ago, the orgullo that I had and needed to recover. So I look Rachel squarely in those bloodshot eyes, and I say, yes, I was accepted to Texas A&M. I had a 4.0 GPA transferring from UNT, and thanks to my AP courses in high school, I probably would have been accepted to many other schools. My parents always said hard work paid off. Didn't your dad give a large endowment to the school? I wonder if that affected your acceptance. I leaned in and patted her in the shoulder. You're so cute. You should be able to marry well, but you should do it soon because the competition gets heavy as you age. I smiled and cocked my head this time and said, you know what, Rachel? You and I should do a tequila shot together. So she followed me blindly and dumbfounded into the kitchen, right behind my orgullo.